big corporation or in a promoter-led company, it's only a few people who really win. I think what we need to do is create a new kind of entrepreneurship, at least in our country, where everybody wins, everybody gets a share of that pie, and I think that's what will drive the drive and their passion as well to succeed, just as all of us want to succeed.
Okay, on that note, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we must discuss whether 21st century challenges really need 21st century style of governance. That is going to be the focus after this very short break.
This show is brought to you by Ford. Feel the difference. Samsung Galaxy Note. Kotak Mahindra Bank.
विमल लाइट, लाइफ में रहो लाइट।
क्या आपके पापा एटीएम हैं? नहीं ना? तो लॉग ऑन कीजिए ये भी .com पर। पाइए बड़े ब्रांड्स पे बड़ी डील्स बड़े आराम से।
Muthoot Finance Limited, India's largest gold financing company, offers a public issue of secured non-convertible debentures of face value ₹1,000 each, with option to double your investment in 5.5 years. Also offers 13.25% interest rates in the 3 and 5 year slabs, rated by CRISIL and ICRA. Issue opens 22nd December, closes 7th January. Risk factors refer to the prospectus available on the website of SEBI, the company, lead managers and co-lead managers to the issue.
हवलदार का काम तो कोई भी कर सकता है, देखो।
सड़क है, चक्कर।
चल मुंह खोल। फिनाइल डाल इसके मुंह में, फिनाइल। पीला है, मुंह खोल।
घर में टूथपेस्ट नहीं है, कह रहे तेरे।
देखा, जो हवलदार सारे हफ्ते यूं लगे रहते हैं, वो सैटरडे संडे पड़े रहे। रिचार्ज विद नॉन स्टॉप सुपर हिट्स, मैक्स वीकेंड ऑन मैक्स।
Welcome back. You're watching the agenda for Renewal. I've got 4 very special guests. They're really special because they've actually left corporate life to head out to turn entrepreneurs and set up their own businesses. And that's what makes it really exciting to then discuss whether the 21st century challenges really need a 21st century kind of governance. Each one of them are going to face their challenges and then we'll look for answers and solutions for the same. You know, one of the lawyers I spoke to just recently said we're not even scaring away the FIRs, we're scaring away the domestic investor. Sumant, do you get that sense?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent that's actually true, because if you look at what all the large groups in India are doing, a lot of their investments actually and acquisitions are happening outside India right now. And, you know, media articles seem to suggest, or these people seem to suggest in interviews that they are actually looking to diversify their investments into, you know, sort of looking at the outside international markets as well, given some of the policy paralysis that is there in the country right now. So I think that's happening as well. And that's unfortunate, of course, because we need all the capital in India right now for investment purposes. And I think on FDI, I think at the margin, which is really where the growth takes place, I think at the margin, that is the capital that, you know, takes us from 5% to 9%.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's a bit of a virtuous circle there, because once that capital comes in, the rupee starts to strengthen, opportunities start to look better, and then obviously more capital comes in. And we've just got into the reverse of that, which is that capital is going out, people are worried about the exchange rate issues, and then you obviously start questioning why is the capital going out. So all of those things are beginning to happen, and then, you know, you get into this loss of confidence sort of a scenario, and we're sort of heading in that direction.
Okay, we are heading there according to Sumant. TP, do you share that view that we are getting more negative than things really are? And, you know, some people would like to believe that Indians are sort of worrying about the whole world. If they just start worrying about their own businesses, they might be slightly better off. Is that the sense you get?
Surely in business, it's all about sentiment. And I do agree with what you're trying to say, that there is an element of that, and I think the sentiment's bad, because I wish the only thing I'd say is that I wish the government would give a stronger push in making out a clear line of sight of what way they're going. Business just wants certainty. That's all business wants, good or bad, but we want certainty. And the problem we all having is the lack of certainty right now. And once we know what the certainty is, I think that will automatically improve sentiment as well. So when there's no certainty, it's creating this loop right now, this negative loop that you were referring to. That's not good for any of us.
So if you don't want FDI, just say it point blank. But don't say that it's coming and it's coming in 2 months, then say it's coming in 2 years.
But the only thing I'd also add is one is FDI, one is innovation and technology. There's a lot of technology around the world that we need to imbibe and we should attract. Because there is a lot of technology that can really make a difference in people's lives in India. So in addition to FDI, and hopefully FDI is one angle, but also to bring in the best technology, attract the best companies around the world to come to set up shop out here that can make a difference. And I think a lot of these corporates are struggling right now because of this negative sentiment that exists in this country.
Not being able to attract. You know, it's also going to eventually play out on not being able to attract the right kind of people, because if we do not see our sort of economy kickstart and individual businesses do better, then we're going to likely see a situation, not only can we not attract capital, we may not be able to get some of the technology here referred to, innovation, and people at the end of the day.
No, absolutely. It's a very fair point. In fact, I think the one great thing that was happening, and I'm sure all of us felt it in the last 2 or 3 years, was we were seeing a lot of the really bright talent from, you know, whether it's Indian origin talent or talent elsewhere that wants to get emerging market or India experience, look and focus on coming back to India. I think if this trend continues, perhaps there'll be a bit of a dampener on that. I don't think
they were coming back for work. They were hungry for sort of doing something here rather than coming back because of the state of the West.
Absolutely. And the part you make about domestic capital, let me just also remind you that, you know, the mom and pop savings, the retail is always just the follower crowd. So, you know, the domestic institutions look at foreign institutions and vice versa. So unless you've got the sophisticated end of the market interested, the retail savings or the domestic money is not going to come out in the sort of volume we would expect it to.
Manisha, is the country in a bit of a let's hedge our risk mode? I mean, you know, you all deal with corporate India. A large number of those people are buying assets, both personal and sort of business assets overseas today. They largely want to say that I'm better off with less volatility, less growth, rather than too high growth and far too much volatility.
Yeah, I think there is a far quicker diversification. This diversification trend had started a while ago, as you know, Shaili. It started in 2005, 2006 because of liquidity available, larger aspirations of the Indian entrepreneur.
But that was largely business-led. I mean, now people want to just say, okay, little boys stay there, I'll come and join you.
Yeah, I think look, the bigger sentiment does remain that they do want to become the next multinational. You know, if Finland can produce a Nokia, why can't India produce the next multinational? So that theme remains. But yes, it's got fast-tracked because of all the bigger issues here, the infrastructure, the lack of decision making. You know, you were referring earlier to the fact that the point that Varun made on a lot of people, a lot of good talent that was coming back. We at UBS and other organizations saw a lot of people coming in, but you know, a lot of them left in a year or 2 years because the family wouldn't settle in, you couldn't get into good colleges or or schools, didn't have high quality infrastructure, and fine, you can pay your employee, you can create a good environment for him in the office, but you can't do it in the broader environment which they're used to. And I think to that extent, then you saw these people just head back in 2 years, because you know that's very important. We need to invest in our education, we need to invest in our infrastructure so that talent doesn't leave the country.
And that was going to be, you know, the last theme that I want to pick up, which is India forgetting that crisis is not just about 9% to 7% drop in growth, it's also about not being able to create enough public infrastructure. Have we missed the bus on managing people's expectations and basic livelihood issues, Sumant?
I don't think it's a question of managing people's expectations. I think it's a question of meeting the expectations. And I think in that regard, definitely I think most optimistic Indians would have had a more bullish sort of expectation of where we would have got to by this time. I mean, just take the case of Mumbai. We have one sea link which is connecting, Bandra and Haji Ali. I mean, not Haji Ali, but Worli. And the extension to Haji Ali has been talked about for God knows how many decades, but nothing really is happening. And you know, you keep talking about coastal roads and this and that, but a simple thing like that, or the Pedder Road flyover, right?
There are a large number of execution delays in general across the country.
So I don't know why those kind of things happen. Why can't people just take decisions and just get them executed quickly? I understand India is a raucous democracy and all of that, but the fact of the matter is we can still, I'm sure, do better than this.
You know, so that's the point. Are all of you, you know, in your late 30s, early 40s, getting really worried about what is the young India really? Because at the end of the day, if they don't have education, they don't have skill sets, then where are they headed? And then we are talking about more movements like Anna Hazare, you know, where people will say, hell, I have no job to do. Well, I at least want more from my government, and therefore there will be further social unrest. TP, do you see this coming as a citizen?
Surely that's a huge concern, and my issue is really this, the services sector, all the TCSs and all the BPOs and all these great companies that have employed a lot of people, they've had the most incredible exponential growth over the last decade, right? They've had 17 to 20% every year compounded growth. The issue is that growth rate's going to at some point in time plateau off, right? And with Young India coming up, the only way that you can keep all these people employed is by helping manufacturing grow and, get, that scale of employment up. And if we don't do that, the kind of social problems that this country will face, to the point you just said, will be tremendous. So I think we need to figure out, start at ground phase one with education, with skills training, to figure out ways to actually give people jobs, especially in sectors like manufacturing.
Sumant, is the next year going to be one that will be slightly better or worse?
I really don't think that it's going to be a lot better. I think that this year has been one of sliding downwards in terms of growth, and I don't know where that floor is. But we're certainly not going to see an uptrend from, into next year.
Deep inside, you want to say it's really bad.
No, I think it's not great. Let me put it this way. I think it could have been a lot better, and that's the tragedy, actually, that we could have been doing so much better that we're not. In terms of the general sort of macro, the reforms, I think the one critical issue is that we need to get the country's macroeconomic situation right. And that is totally sliding out of control. The government's fiscal deficit is not really doing very well. Interest costs have gone up. Inflation is not being managed well. So that is creating just not a very good, conducive investment environment. So I think that is something that really the government has to fix by becoming much tighter on the fiscal management, which in our current political environment or scenario is I find difficult to see that it's going to happen. The second thing I would say is that clearly we need more long-term capital, whether it's pension fund investments, whether it is FDI, whether it is banks lending for longer term, doesn't matter. We don't have enough capital to invest in the country for long-term projects. And so when you look at infrastructure, if you don't have long-term capital, it's going to be very hard to invest and create those assets. So I think that is another sort of very, very important thing. And the third thing that all of us will talk about is the actual creation of the hard and the soft infrastructure, which means, for example, education is one thing that we tend to neglect a lot, but that is an area that really needs to be built up as well, along with the obvious roads and ports and what have you.
You've got one chance, 1 minute with the Prime Minister. What are you telling him in those 60 seconds?
Right, financial services reform, manufacturing sector growth, and infrastructure fix. These three things.
And you expect he'll listen?
Exactly, and I think he knows it. I don't think he'll listen, he knows it.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen, and Manisha for joining us. Appreciate it. That's the agenda for Renewal. We're looking into 2012. I can say with a lot of hope and a little trepidation. Thanks for joining us. Stay with ET now.
He rides like a breeze through coconut trees.
देखा एमरॉन नहीं तो लॉन्ग लाइफ नहीं, क्योंकि सिर्फ एमरॉन में सिल्वर जो देता है इसे लॉन्ग लाइफ. एमरॉन सिल्वर टिंग सिल्वर टोंग.
Who says the everyday has to be so everyday? Experience the amazing everyday new Nokia Lumia 800.
Just look at how the new Crizal lenses can eliminate the 5 enemies of clear vision. They repel water, keep dust and dirt away, resist smudges, even scratches, and reduce reflection to give you crystal clear vision beyond ordinary lenses. Don't wait. Ask for Crizal lenses today.
After making riding experiences exciting for over 55 years across 130 countries, Polaris, world's #1 in off-road vehicles, is now in India.
He decided to help the helpless migrants.
Big motivator for us was the severe hardships that people who migrate are facing.
Meet Rajiv Khandelwal, our amazing Indian, this weekend on Times Now.
Presented by Mahindra.
The Department of Telecom is all set to issue both a show cause notice as well as a demand notice for imposing penalty on Bharti Airtel, Idea Cellular and Vodafone
As far as Department of Telecom is concerned, they are quite clear. These packs violate license conditions and therefore telecom companies need to pay up. Action needs to be taken against them.
The story impacts the stock. The story moves the markets.